The transfer window isn't just about buying players, but selling them as well. In fact, clearing out the squad and reducing wage bills is just as important for top clubs as signing new players. In this video, we'll dive into this aspect of the market. We'll talk about players who've become deadweight in their clubs over recent years and where they might end up. Real Madrid, David Alaba, Ferland Mendy, Dani Ceballos. Real Madrid rocked the football world with the sudden news of Xabi Alonso's departure. You can argue about whether his dismissal was justified, but right now, the real question is, what comes next for the team? For now, they've placed Álvaro Arbeloa in charge, but his appointment feels like a temporary fix. It's likely that soon, letters will be sent to Jurgen Klopp or Enzo Maresca. The choice of the new head coach will determine the transfer window, but there are a couple of players who should definitely be sold no matter what happens. The first one on the list is David Alaba. In 2021, he moved to the Bernabeu from Bayern Munich as a free agent and was rewarded with a huge signing bonus and a significant salary of 13.5 million euros per year after taxes. However, Alaba hasn't justified this contract. Injuries have kept him sidelined for almost 600 days, and after suffering an ACL tear, he's lost his pace. Right now, he'd struggle to make the starting lineup for even a mid-tier Premier League club. His exceptional passing and set-piece abilities can't save him now. With just 6 months remaining on his contract, there's no doubt that Real will part ways with him this summer. However, if a decent, similar case, though on a smaller scale, can be made for Ferland Mendy. In 2019, Real signed him as one of Europe's most promising left-backs, and Mendy could have become that player. Unfortunately, injuries disrupted his progress. While he's shown glimpses of brilliance, he's never been the consistent, dependable player the manager could rely on. Since extending his contract in 2024, he has been injury-prone and now struggles for a spot, even as a backup to Álvaro Carvajal or Fran Garque. At 31, and with a salary of 6.2 million euros per year, Real Madrid needs to part with him as soon as possible. Garque may not be the perfect backup, but at least he's on a much smaller salary, and Mendy is already seemingly written off. The situation surrounding Dani Ceballos is more complicated. He earns the same as Mendy, but at least offers some situational value. The Spanish midfielder has been a steady backup, and his passing is arguably the best among Real's midfielders. That's why both Ancelotti and Alonso valued him when they needed to control the tempo. However, if Real brings in the necessary deep-lying playmaker, Ceballos' services may no longer be needed. For now, he's not a bad option for rotation, but he's certainly overpriced. Barcelona, Marc-André ter Stegen, Ronald Araújo, Marc Casadó. Barcelona urgently needs funds to strengthen the squad in the summer transfer window, especially if they are aiming to sign a top center forward and central defender. Considering the ongoing reconstruction of Camp Nou, the club is unlikely to see large financial gains, meaning they'll have to sell someone. Fortunately, there are plenty of candidates for departure. First up is Marc-André ter Stegen. After the purchase of João Garcia, having the German keeper at the club no longer makes sense. If there were doubts over his future in the summer, they've now been cleared up after the impressive performance of the new arrival. Garcia is the starter, and ter Stegen is nothing more than an experienced backup. Moreover, ter Stegen has become a toxic asset. Remember the saga when he tried to claim unrealistic timelines for his recovery, causing a delay in Garcia's registration? It's hard to believe the club has forgotten this. Right now, ter Stegen has the third highest salary at Barcelona, 8 million euros per year after taxes. That's far too much for a backup keeper, especially considering Barcelona's current situation. The issue is that ter Stegen doesn't want to lower his wage demands or move to a club significantly lower in stature, which is stalling negotiations with potential suitors. It's strange, given his desire to be Germany's first-choice keeper in upcoming tournaments. If he leaves sooner rather than later, it will benefit all parties involved. Next up is Ronald Araújo. It's been well documented that the Uruguayan hasn't adapted well to the system under Flick, and a string of mistakes in key matches seems to have shattered his confidence. His extended period of depression and the uncertainty surrounding his return only make things worse. Yes, he made a brief appearance in El Clásico, but does Barcelona need him in the long run? Right now, Barcelona is struggling with their center-backs after the departure of Martinez and the injuries to Christensen. But if they strengthen this area in the summer, keeping Araújo makes little sense. With a salary of €6 million and a playing style that doesn't fit, Barcelona should sell him for around year 10, €15 million. Finally, there's Marc Casadó. A talented player, but this season he's barely featured, playing less than 800 minutes. Coach Flick prefers to use De Jong and Pedri ahead of him in the pecking order, and it's expected that they'll rely more on a younger and more promising talent like Marc Bernada. Casadó is a valuable asset though. Chelsea offered €30 million for him last summer, so selling him would be a good move. Arsenal, Gabriel Jesus. Let's be honest here, Arsenal has done a fantastic job in the transfer market over the past few years. Mikel Arteta has been given an exceptional squad, capable of competing in all competitions. Not only does the team have depth and quality, but it also boasts a healthy mix of experience and youth. Right now, there's no player in the squad who can be considered dead weight. However, when Gabriel Jesus moved from Manchester City to Arsenal, he was expected to be one of the Premier League's most impactful forwards. The Brazilian's salary of €8.5 million per year reflected his status as one of the most important players in the team. But with only 27 goals in 3.2 years, it's safe to say that Jesus hasn't lived up to expectations. Injuries have certainly played a part, but it's clear that his performances haven't been consistent enough. In recent weeks, Jesus has shown flashes of brilliance, and Jamie Carragher believes he should be the starting striker over Victor Gyökeres. It's possible that Gabriel will regain his best form, and he's still only 28. But if this is just a brief resurgence, Arsenal they should part ways with soon. The rebuild is ongoing, and unnecessary pieces are piling up on the sidelines. First and foremost, they need to figure out what to do with Calvin Phillips. Guardiola has no clue how to use him, so he hasn't even included him in the Premier League and Champions League squads. Phillips has only played 7 minutes in the League Cup this season. With a salary of €5 million per year after taxes, he's become a financial burden for the club. Rumours say Wolves are willing to take him on loan for the rest of the season. It's unclear why City kept Stefan Ortega after the signings of Donnarumma and Trafford. He's a solid player, but why keep him as the fourth-choice goalkeeper? He earns a hefty €3 million per year, and there have been no rumors about his departure. It seems that City will try to find him a new club this winter. Oscar Bob, the once promising Norwegian, is now 22 and still stuck in deep reserve status. His debut season was solid, but now he's not making any progress and remains a backup player. Dortmund has shown interest, and City might cash in on him to make a nice profit. Amar Mormush is another player who hasn't lived up to expectations. With knee injuries and poor form, the Egyptian has only played 400 minutes this season and scored just 1 goal. This is far from what City expected when they paid €75 million for him. He could leave for Tottenham or Aston Villa this winter. Savinho was once seen as a promising asset, but with the recent signing of Ryan Cherki and Antoine Semenyo, his path to the first team has been blocked. He's still a raw talent, and it's likely that he'll be loaned out, but a sale could also be on the cards if a reasonable offer comes in. Liverpool, Wataru Endo, Federico Chiesa. Liverpool is currently facing a number of issues, including injuries to key players and uncertainty over their squad. While there are no obvious players for sale, there are a few with uncertain futures who may not be able to keep up with the team's ambitions. The first player in question is Wataru Endo. Brought in as a temporary fix after Fabinho's departure, Endo has done his job but now finds himself surplus to requirements. He has only played 42 minutes in the Premier League this season and has made just 2 starts in the League Cup. While he's been useful in rotation, his lack of consistent performances makes his position in the squad unnecessary. Next is Federico Chiesa. While Chiesa is not a terrible option off the bench, he rarely plays a significant role on the field. It might be wise to part ways with him. Chiesa's salary of €5 million per year isn't insignificant. The situation with Mohamed Salah is more complicated. The Egyptian star has underperformed in 2025, and his recent scandal only adds to the controversy. However, he seems to be coming back into form. The issue is his salary of €13 million per year, which is not aligned with his current contributions. If an offer comes in from Saudi Arabia, Liverpool should consider selling him and reinvesting in younger and more motivated talent. But this is a decision that will depend on the club's next moves, and not entirely on their own volition. Chelsea, Raheem Sterling, Axel Disasi, Gabriel Slanina, Beno T. Badiashile. Chelsea's transfer activity and squad are always fascinating to discuss due to the volume of players they sign. However, it's hard to keep track of all the loan players and the constant roster turnover. We'll focus on the players Chelsea definitely won't be keeping in the long term. Raheem Sterling has been left out of the season's roster and is waiting for someone to pick him up. Maybe he's waiting because his massive salary of €21 million per year is too good to leave. His pay is by far the highest in the Premier League, with a significant gap from the second highest earner, Colmer. Rumors have surfaced that Fulham and West Ham are interested in Sterling on loan, but he's in no rush to make a decision. It seems he has accepted that his top-tier career is over, and now he's just focusing on maximizing his earnings before retirement. Another player Chelsea needs to part with is Gabriel Slanina. The American keeper was once considered a promising prospect, but he's now off the roster, and with so many goalkeepers in the squad, there's no reason for him to stay. His contract runs until 2028, and he's earning €1.3 million per year. With rumors about Mike Maignan moving to Chelsea, it's clear Slanina has no place at the club. Next up is Axel Disasi. His move from Monaco hasn't gone as planned, and Chelsea is now looking to sell him. His potential has not been realized at Stamford Bridge. Beno T. Badiashile is in a slightly better position, but with Kalidou Koulibaly still present and Thiago Silva still performing well, Chelsea doesn't have a long-term need for him either. They may keep him for now, but his future will depend on the club's next steps under new management.